Can you both tell me how did you got started with the whole short-term rental business?
Yeah, so we come from a background in real estate, but we got started with Airbnb about 4.5 years ago. We went to a free workshop on Airbnb and we were interested in quitting our real estate job at the time. We were both commercial real estate agents and we were just looking for something else. And so we went to this free workshop and from there we bought our first pretty much property that we were able to leverage out from a unit that was connected to the home. And so we were able to have 2 Airbnbs from our first home purchase. And from there, we discovered that we wanted to continue growing in this business, but buying was harder to do. So we discovered the rental arbitrage model. We want to jump in on that.
Yeah, Melissa was actually the one that had the idea of going to a free workshop on Airbnb and renting out a part of your home. And, honestly, I was a little bit, not really into going to that, but I'm so grateful to go to that with her. She opened my eyes to that. And ever since then, we've really hit the ground running with Airbnb, and it's been a life changer.
That's great. And how did you get started with doing rental arbitrage? So it wasn't right away because you told me you already had purchased a property, right?
Yes.
So that workshop you went to, that's what inspired you to go with rental arbitrage?
No.
So the workshop we went to was focused on buying a home to Airbnb. And so after we bought our first home, our investment in that was about, what was it, like $80,000?
About
$80,000 total. And so we were pretty much left with not so much liquid cash to continue growing our business. And so we invested in other mentors at the time that were doing rental arbitrage, and that's when we learned that model. And then we combined our skills in real estate sales because we were doing a lot of role playing at the time, and we were trained on how to overcome objections and talk to landlords already at that time, but just at a different side of business. So we combined our skills with what we learned from other mentors, and we came up with a pitch that really worked for us so we could continue on this business with rental arbitrage.
Oh, that's great. And can you tell me a little bit how was like your first approach to rental arbitrage when you did it for the first time? How was it like?
Yeah. So, well, one of the ways that we heard from someone to go about speaking with landlords was not the right way that we do now. It wasn't a good way to approach landlords. So the first time was actually pretty funny. What we did is we reached out to a landlord to go look at their home, which they had for rent online. And when we got there, we met with the leasing agent. And after we toured the whole property, she was under the assumption that we were looking for it to live in ourselves and build a family or whatnot. But at the end of the tour, we told her what our intentions were and that we wanted to sublease it for rental arbitrage. And she threw up her hands in the air and she's like, "You completely wasted my time. Why didn't you tell me this from the beginning? The owners are absolutely not going to be okay with this." And that's somewhat expected, especially when we surprised her. We didn't let her know why we were meeting. So I could understand. I had some empathy why she felt like we wasted her time. But, I told her, "Hey, look, what are some of your concerns? Why wouldn't it be something that the owner is open to?" And she's, she had a couple concerns that weren't super valid, but she said, "You know what? The owner lives nearby. Why don't I have her come over and you can talk to her and you can see if she's open to it." And long story short, the owner came by. We told her all the benefits of having us as a tenant, and the owner was like, "Okay, yeah, great. Let's give it a try." And we've been here ever since.
For like 3 years.
For like 3 years now, yeah. So actually, yeah, the property the first property for arbitrage that we looked at was 2 units. It was a back house garage that was converted, and it was a main home, and we used both of them.
Yeah.
And what was the pitch that sold you to that owner?
Things like telling them that we're going to take care of their property. It's always going to be maintained and well kept. And we showed them that our experience as hosts, that we keep the property in good shape. We're always monitoring it. There's security cameras, and I'm sure at first she was kind of on the fence about letting us or not, but the fact that we were going to take both units on her property, and also the fact that we were very approachable and we were very professional in person, I think that we were able to push her over the ledge on, oh, hey, okay, let's give these guys a try and see if we can work something out with them.
Right. I remember a big one when we first looked at the home. The home was recently remodeled, but they had tenants that were living in the home, I think for about 1 year only. And they had already left the walls like with scratches and all scruffed up and not in the best conditions. And we mentioned, I'm like, hey, look, with us, you will never have this problem because we're always going to keep the home in prime 5-star conditions because of our business is a 5-star business. And so your home will be a 5-star home.
Okay, that's great. And so those are always right now like the basis to convince a landlord, right? I've heard it before, but do you think that's a pitch that can sell everyone, right? That there are some landlords that are still going to say no?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that one pitch, I don't believe there's one sales script for every landlord. I think number one is building your rapport. It's like he was saying that we were approachable in the way we delivered our pitch, right? So it's more than what you say, but it's how you say it and how you build rapport with that person, because this becomes a trust business. They get to trust you to run your business in their home. So number one is building rapport. It's not so much that, what you're going to say, because if you say it with, in a way that it's not going to project confidence, they're not going to have the trust in you and they're not going to say yes to you. So I would say number one is building rapport. Number two is just knowing what objections they're going to have and how to overcome them.
What concerns
they're going to have and how to overcome them so that, they feel that you could take on their home.
Yeah, every landlord's going to be different.
Yeah.
And it's all sales.
Yeah.
So in sales across every single industry, everyone's going to be different. Every prospect, what you call them, is going to be different, right? So everyone's going to have, in sales, it's all about listening. It's all about asking the right questions and listening to them. You want to be an active listener and you want to hear what their problems are, because as me, the person that's selling my business to you, I want to make sure that I solve your problems. So for this landlord, maybe their problem was their concern / problem is, okay, the house is going to be ruined because the long-term tenants, they tend to trash the place. So we overcame that objection. If there's another landlord where their problem is not getting paid rent on time because their experience in the past has always been chasing tenants for rent, then we say, hey, what has been your biggest concerns, or what's your biggest problems in the past with previous tenants? And they go, oh, well, you know what? I've always had to chase down the rent. And we go, well, you know what? We pay rent early, guaranteed. And we have references to prove that. So it's always sales is always trying to uncover what that specific person in front of you's problems are and explain to them how you solve that.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. And it's my first time hearing about it this way. When people try to talk about rental arbitrage, in the Facebook groups where I'm more familiar with that, is seems like people think there is one secret pathway to it. Right.
I mean, I hear them and I understand them, and usually the top concerns and problems for a landlord fall into those categories that you're talking about and that you see. And people that are inexperienced with sales, they think all the person wants to hear is their main pitch, like everything that they think solves their problems and everything that is good about their business, they just like smother the other person with that. Like, imagine going on a date and then just like telling the other person all the things you think are good about yourself, but they really don't care about any of that, right? What if they just care about, are you going to be a good stepfather to my child? But meanwhile, you're telling them how like you work out every day and how healthy you are, right? They don't care about it. So yeah, those categories fall into the main things that usually the most common ones that come up, but still you can never expect that. You always got to go into a meeting thinking, how can I listen to this person and how can I solve their problems?
Right. It gets to be, I like the date example that you talked about, because it gets to be a conversation. when you go out there. And we tell a lot of our mentees is like, don't go out there and have the script and just blah 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 blah, Mr. Landlord, right? Like you get to have a conversation. Like it's perfect example, like you're going on a first date, you're building rapport, right? You're listening to them, you're listening to the things that they're looking for, and if they're looking for something, then you say, okay, well, you try to pitch something at that, right, to make it a win-win for them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And now that you told me about your background and all this new knowledge that also reached me, right? It makes sense that you decided to start the mentorship program. But can you tell me a little more how you decided to start with this, with the whole mentorship program?
Yes, of course. So we've been in this business for 4.5 years. And prior to starting Host Life, which is our mentorship program, I was already a mentor in another coaching program for about 2 years. So I've mentored hundreds of people already. But then when COVID hit and he got laid off of his job, I'm like, why don't we do this together and create a bigger impact in the world? And we felt that he had a strong background and I have my own strong background, and together we could just be a powerhouse in mentoring people. And so last year, around this time, actually, we have 1 year since we created Host Live. And with Host Live, we have a direct mentorship program where people get, it's 90 days. So people get a course that we created, and then one-on-one direct mentorship access in a group setting with Zev and I, with a big focus on sales training, because part of the pitch, as he was saying, is sales training, right? So if you're not comfortable with sales, if you're not comfortable with talking to people, if you're not comfortable getting on the phone and overcoming objections, then this is not going to work for you. This model is not going to work for you. So we have a big emphasis on training them. He does the training, and then I focus a lot on teaching them about how to become an Airbnb superhost, how to create systems, how to create a team, how to create design and automation and communication.
And when people reach you, to your mentorship program, what kind of people are they usually? Are these people who are already in the Airbnb short-term rental business, doing long-term rentals maybe, or just curious about the rental arbitrage model?
Yeah, the majority of our students so far don't have any Airbnbs. They don't have any real estate. And most of them are either currently an entrepreneur or they have an entrepreneurial mindset, meaning that they are in a job, a 9-to-5 maybe, but there's just something inside of them every day that tells them that they're not in the right place, right? They want to get out of that job. So yeah, maybe entrepreneurs and people that either maybe they want to keep their job or they want a side hustle, or they're very interested in the hospitality industry, but usually just entrepreneurs are the ones that are reaching out to us.
Mm-hmm. And how does the people comes out of your mentorship program? How does the mindset change during that program period?
Yeah, so I love that you mentioned the word mindset, because we truly believe that success first starts in your mind. We could give you all the tools that you need. We could give you the scripts, the templates, and how to do this and this and that, right? But if you don't have the mindset of success, you're going to take everything we learn, finish our program, and continue doing the same thing you've been doing in your life, right? So as far as mindset, we really try to connect people back to their why. And even in our selection process, we do have a selection process in who we accept into our program. We want to make sure that they have a strong why. Why do they want to do this? Why do they want to do Airbnb? Why do they want to join our course? And once they have a strong why, then we really try to have them encounter breakthroughs in having their mindset shift into complete possibilities and not impossible, right? So really having an open mindset into possibilities, and that the lives that they want really is possible for them.
Yeah, and when Melissa mentions possibilities,
yeah,
an example of a more recent student is, so he would say things like, oh, well, yeah, what if the landlord doesn't allow this, or what if the call goes wrong, right, or what if we're so close to getting the landlord to allow this, we're talking to them, but what if he wants us to do something that's not so great for our business? And we're thinking, look, don't think about what going to make it impossible. Think about all the things that are going to make this possible.
Right.
You know, that's just a little tweak of your mindset to make you keep going, keep trying, and having more confidence in yourself too.
And essentially, what path do you take to guide your students in these mentorship programs? Well, like what are the steps you take to change their mindset, and what do you teach to them?
Yeah, so it goes just in general with our direct coaching. We have pretty much set up a weekly things to do in our mentorship program for the 90 days. And so we're seeing that a student is pretty much falling behind and really not taking action. And we check in with our students on the weekly basis, and we're seeing that they're really not doing what they're saying they're going to do. Then this is when we do a call with them, that it's all a mindset call with them, and we really go with them. We're not there to be their friends and tell them what they want to hear. We tell them what they need to hear to really elevate their lives, right? Because a lot of times our circle of people only tell you what you want to hear, right? So we are the mentors that are going to tell you what's on your blind side that you're probably not seeing, that's blocking your mind from seeing the possibility that's available to you. So we really just go into direct coaching.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned this, that is like really valuable from your side, because we always see these mentors like Airbnb coaches that are like really, they just want to sell their mentorship, you know?
Yeah.
They really don't want to, they really don't do this personal approach that you say you do with your students, which is like very important, but it's really valuable what you do with them. I think it can really make some change in their mindset, in their lives.
Right.
Definitely.
Right. Yeah, we just see it. It's more than Airbnb. It's more than just them wanting to make additional $5,000, but it's what impact can we really create in their lives. So when they leave, our mentorship program, their life is just completely transformed, and they are transformed. That's what it's really all about for us.
And I think that's fantastic. It's like my very first time in all these times hearing about mentors, hearing like the kind of path you take for them. So it's really great. It's really valuable. And can you tell me a little bit, so what does rental arbitrage mean to you? I know many of our listeners, know about rental arbitrage, but essentially, like, what does it mean to you? What does it represent for you?
I just got freedom.
Yeah. Well, to me,
Yeah.
it represents something that is tangible and something that seems it's like an easy, I mean, on the one hand, it's an easy, low barrier for entry. So a lot of people can start this. So that can be good or bad, right? For any marketplace. If something's such a low barrier for entry, it has the possibility of becoming either saturated, or it has the possibility of becoming taken advantage of, with people doing it, getting in that are not so professional and not taking care of it. But that's like any other marketplace for any business. But the difference here is, if you truly care about your business, you truly care about this hospitality, and you can really make a lot of good money, cash flow, from something like this, and it's a win-win. So most landlords out there are traditional landlords, where they just take a long-term tenant and they just want to collect the check, which is great. We act as the long-term tenant, but where we act differently than a long-term tenant is that we really care for their property. We turn their property into our business. So it becomes so for me, what I love about arbitrage, it's a win for the landlord when you have really good tenants like us doing that business. And it's also a win for people that are not sure what to do with their life to make good money. And it's something that I definitely recommend everyone trying out, because you can make cash flow really quickly and the return is really high, and then you can use that money towards something that you really want to, which for us is real estate.
Yeah. I want to mention something. One thing that I really love about this model is the relationships we have created with our landlords. We've created relationships with our landlords that now they're at the point whenever they have any vacancies, we're the first ones they reach out to. And they've also become our mentors. A lot of our landlords, they're multi-million-dollar portfolio of real estate. And that's the goal, right? Ownership of real estate is the goal. And so we have created such good rapport with them because of how we function as a business and how we take care of their properties. So they've always told us like, hey, we're just a phone call away if you ever have any questions on buying a deal or financing a deal. And so they become mentors for us.
That's really good. And
Yeah.
what can you say about, there must be out there like some people who have tried the rental arbitrage model and it really didn't work for them, and it also like traumatized the landlord. How can you approach a landlord that has not have a good experience with someone who previously did rental arbitrage on their building?
Yeah, well, I would say that also still goes back to sales,
Yeah.
which is what I mentioned, right? So I would first obviously you always want to build rapport when it comes to sales, so you can try to get them comfortable with you in a short amount of time. And then you want to try to open them up as much as you can and ask them, well, what was your experience with the previous person that ran that business, that ran their business similar? And maybe they'll say it was parties or whatnot, or whatever the thing is, you want to try to overcome it. And it usually comes down to separating ourselves from them. Just because they have the same business doesn't make us the same, right? Nike and Adidas are completely two separate businesses, right? They can compete and sell the same products, but they do it differently, right? Or Puma and Nike, they're different. Reebok and Nike, you can already see the difference in the shoes in your head, Reebok and Nike, just from when I mention them. So we're not the same. Just because there's a bad apple in the bunch doesn't mean that we should be treated the same, right? When I worked in a real estate office, I don't know what's a really common real estate firm name, like Keller Williams is a common real estate firm. Everyone that works in the real estate office runs their own business. So if I have a bad experience with an agent at Keller Williams, that does not mean that the agent 2 doors down from him in the same office is going to be just as bad. They might be running things completely differently, and they deal with their clients completely differently than the one that I had an experience with. So yeah, unfortunately, because I mentioned the arbitrage game business is a low barrier for entry, you do get a lot of people that are not professional or don't have any experience or not trained, and they leave a bad taste in the landlord's mouth. So it's not impossible to overcome those landlord's objections, but it will be a little bit tougher.
Yeah, understand. I completely understand. So can you give us a little bit of intro to your mentorship program so the listeners can have an overview and visit your media if they like it?
Yeah,
Sure.
So our mentorship program is called Host Life. It's a 90-day mentorship program. So in those 90 days, you have, again, a course with videos that focus on role playing, focus on the pitch, focus on overcoming objections, just a really big emphasis on sales. And then we have a next section of the course, which really focuses on communication and hospitality, because again, like the examples he was giving you, right? Every business is different. Airbnb is a hospitality game, right? If you're not giving a 5-star hospitality to your guests, you're not going to be in this for the long run, right? You get to really create a business where you're going to have returning guests and build a brand. And so we really focus on pretty much teaching our students how to develop that hospitality way of talking to their guests. And then we have a big focus on design as well, because in our experience, when we first started this business, we didn't know so much about the structuring or design of our business. So we created our first Airbnb pretty much looked like a hostel. And now we have a big focus on design, and we seen that whenever we start an Airbnb in an area, we are the highest comped. We are the highest priced Airbnb with the highest occupancy and highest rating as well. We've been Superhost 17 times. So not once since we started this business have we not achieved Superhost. And if for those of you guys listening, if you don't know what Superhost is pretty much the way Airbnb rates you, which is quarterly, and you're supposed to pretty much meet a certain criteria for them. And a big one is on the reviews. And so we've been Superhost 17 times since we've started. So we are very confident that we know what we're doing, and we really teach our experience to our students in regard to how they could also create a business that's going to be in the long run, and they will be Superhosts as well. So yeah, so 90 days, they get the course, and then we have weekly classes. In those weekly classes, we cover different topics, and then we open it up for Q&A so that we're able to support them on the one-on-one basis. And then they also have access to our private Facebook community, which we build a little community where we support each other. And anytime they have any personal questions in regards to their journey, then that's when we support them as well on the one-on-one basis as well.
So the whole program sounds amazing. One last thing that I would like you to talk to me about is your success rate. What are some success stories that you've seen from your students?
Yeah, so our success rate has been 100% since we've started this a year ago. So, and I think it goes to show, because I totally, like, we have an application process that we have people fill out, and then we get on a phone call with them, and we only will accept someone that we know we could really help. Okay, we're not just going to take anyone that wants to enroll into our course, but if we really feel that we could help you, and you really already just have that strong desire to be successful, that's what we're looking for. If you have that strong desire and you're really willing to be teachable and coachable and do everything we're telling you to do and follow our formula, you will be successful, and we will be your biggest cheerleader and hold your hand throughout the journey.
That sounds fantastic. So that would be it for today. Thank you a lot for your time, for being here with me.
Yeah,
Thank you, Delia. It was a pleasure. Nice meeting you. And we hope that your listeners really get something great out of this, whether that's just learning some tips on sales, or maybe checking out our program and reaching out to us. We're more than happy to read their application and schedule a call if it makes sense. And yeah, we hope we can be on your show again soon.
Yeah, I hope I can interview you soon again with more success achieved, right?
Yeah, of course.